Hi and welcome to Share a Dram, the show where I share a dram with the who's who of the whiskey industry. My guest today is the global brand ambassador for what is probably the world's most popular single malt Scotch whiskey. And he's a gentleman who needs absolutely no introduction. Allow me to welcome Mr. Ian Millar, global brand ambassador for Glenfiddich. How are you, Ian?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
Excellent. So, how are you finding Dubai so far?
Dubai is probably my fifth trip. Warm, although today was kind of cool, breezy. This is our third event of the day, which is very typical Dubai.
Right.
They are well organised out here and they work you hard. It's good. I'd rather do this than sit in a hotel bedroom.
Well, cool breeze, you got lucky with Dubai.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Before I ask you any questions about Glenfiddich, as a whiskey expert, of course, tell me, how does a novice, right, and there's many out there, go about selecting the right whiskey for themselves?
I would get if I was a whiskey novice, I'd probably know a couple of other whiskey novices, and what I would encourage them to do is to do little tastings between the two or three of them, and that every couple of weeks they actually buy miniatures of single malts, because inside one miniature there is 3 measures of a malt whiskey.
Right.
So the best way to really get to know malt whiskey and the differences between malt whiskey is actually through the offices of miniatures, because miniatures, there's no big financial risk if you don't like it,
Right.
and you all get to share each bottle chosen by each of the novices. So for me as a novice, that's a nice way to get into whiskey. Buy a miniature, try it. If you don't like it, it hasn't been a huge waste of money.
Right. That's a great idea. Now tell me, it's a good time to be a whiskey drinker, and there's a huge demand for single malt Scotch whiskey now. Tell me, what is Glenfiddich planning on doing to meet that growing demand?
A single malt distillery has three outlets.
Okay.
So we produce single malt for other companies to put into their blends.
Right.
We produce single malt to put into our own blends.
Right.
And we produce single malt for single malt whiskey.
Okay.
Because of the growth that we've had within Glenfiddich, first thing we closed down is we stopped selling it to other companies.
Right.
And then we stopped using it almost fully in our own blends, to the point where we can now use everything that we produce for single malt, which gets you out of having to expand the distillery. There are other ways of cutting, producing the whiskey more efficiently, to the point where you can produce more without compromising the quality of what you do.
Right.
But we're getting close to the point where we may have to consider expanding. I say we're getting close to the point where we may consider. That's not on the table right now. I know that certainly Glenfiddich and Macallan, they have already laid out plans to expand their 2 distilleries to meet the growing demand that they see sometimes, and then suddenly they don't see. So if you go back 3-4 years, everybody was producing like crazy.
Right.
And now Diageo's closing down on the production, Glenfiddich's closing down, Pernod Ricard, they're all kind of closing down. We've been kind of a little bit more realistic, so we're not, rather than do up and down, we're looking for this part here from both a production point of view, so we're always able to produce good aged whiskies with age statements on them for our audience, and that's a global audience. It's not a selective audience. It's not like the age statement is only for this market, that market. We want to keep every market engaged with age statement whiskey.
I know it's a hypothetical question, but increased production, would that necessarily mean increased production across your core range, or are you looking at adding new expressions as well, should that happen?
Everything that we produce has no end point. So we produce X amount in American oak and European oak, 1st, 2nd, 3rd generation wood. And that can feed into 12, 15 to 18 or any of our expressions. So when we set it up, we have the opportunity to take it in different directions. We're also trying to lay down other whiskies or other whiskies made by other means, with using, say, peated whiskies and stuff like that. So we are looking to do a little more at the creative side rather than at the finishing end. So we'll use different types of cask, we'll lace them down with medium peat, heavy peat or light peat. So we're doing different things which will give us a menu of options in 12, 15 years time, so that our marketeers can tap into those menu of options and keep people like yourself and people who view your blog happy.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Which latest Glenfiddich expression are you most excited about and why?
The Glenfiddich 26.
Oh, really?
What excites me about it is that American oak is never something that you would readily expect to get a great whiskey from. John Hansel from one of the big whiskey magazines in the States was on Facebook today talking about a 1976 vintage. The 1976 vintage was wholly matured in American oak, and it was absolutely fabulous in terms of the delicate flavours that tumbled out of it. The 26-year-old is just such an animal. You wouldn't expect something as delicate and lightly balanced as a 26. There's grapefruit zest and citrus spilling out of it, and it hits the palate, you could drink a lot of it. So it's kind of dangerous, especially the price that it's set up at. But the 26, when it came, I was a bit concerned about it. Then I tasted it, and we got all of our ambassadors at the conference last year to taste it versus some of our 25, and thankfully they all came out and said, yeah, the 26 rocks, give us some more.
So now something little about you. So what is Ian Millar drinking when he's not drinking Glenfiddich?
You know, you keep on telling audiences it's not about one whiskey, because it's your mood really that dictates what it is you reach out for when you go through the door of your home, when you walk into a bar. So I have about a portfolio of around 10 different single malts that I love.
Okay.
That way, no matter where I am in the world, I'm definitely going to get one of them. So I have a portfolio amongst which is Glenfiddich. I used to work at Mortlach. I managed Mortlach for 5 years. In Mortlach, I love Mortlach. I love Glen Elgin. I like Talisker. I like Lagavulin on the odd occasion as well. It's got to be right for me. I also like Scapa. Scapa is my go-to. I prefer it to Highland Park. Highland Park for me is just too much going on in the mouth to peak in the sherry. Something it did rock for me. I do like the odd one, but Scapa would be my go-to. So I love Scapa. The 16 is really nice, delicate. I like some of the Glenmorangies. I was in Las Vegas a couple of weeks ago playing golf with Bill Lumsden, and we tried a couple of Glenmorangies there. So I like a lot of the Glenmorangie. I like Abuna, which is from Aberlour. I also like the Glenlivet Nadura, because I like heavily sherried whiskies, and the Glenlivet Nadura is an excellent expression of Glenlivet. I love the Glenfarclas range, and for me, he could, it's underpriced for me. He should be able to get a lot more money for his whiskies. I know that George was out on vacation here a couple of weeks ago, but I love the Glenfarclas, and I love the fact that you can get a really good aged Glenfarclas for a very reasonable price.
Absolutely amazing value for money, though.
So I have quite a wide range, and I think it's good to have a wide range. That way, you're never disappointed when you walk into a bar. If you hang your hat on one single malt and it's not there, you're kind of screwed.
True.
So have a wide portfolio, and that way you will never be disappointed.
Do you have a favorite Glenfiddich? Something that's either close to your heart or the one maybe from a taste point of view you really like?
I love the Old 50, which was whiskies from 1937 and 39. But the thing about old whiskies, if you're drinking them all the time, then you take them for granted. So what I absolutely do not do is drink a lot of 50, a lot of 40, a lot of 30.
Neither do I.
I absolutely could on a daily basis, but I purposely don't, because it kind of spoils your palate. So my go-to whiskey is the Glenfiddich 15.
Okay.
It's rounded, and for me it ticks the box on everything I'm looking for from a great whiskey.
So the final question, the one that I'm most interested in finding out, after 40 years in the business, how do you still manage to stay interested in whiskey?
Whiskey's ever changing. The new distilleries cropping up in Scotland, about 3 or 4 in the last year. In Ireland, there's all this new whiskies, new distilleries being built in Ireland. There's a lot more happening on the smaller side, so small scale distilleries just like you have on breweries. You're getting small scale distilleries cropping up. You're getting a lot of breweries that are now producing whiskey as an offshoot from what they're doing. That's good because it gives them instant revenue, sell beer straight away. But there's also a lot more going on in the single malt world. I think it's going to get more difficult now because we've reached a stage where a lot of companies are now compromised by the available stock that they have in their warehouses, and we're seeing a lot of non-age statement whiskey coming in. Some of it's good, some of it's okay, some of it needs a little more work. I would say. So we've been very careful about some of the non-age statements that we put out. But remember, in 1963, when we launched the first single malt to the rest of the world, Glenfiddich came in a non-age statement bottle. It was simply called straight malt.
Okay.
It didn't have an age statement. So for me, it's not absolutely vital, but it does tell the consumer what to expect from an age point of view, but also what to expect from a price point of view. If there's no age on it, then it kind of makes it difficult for the consumer.
Right.
So certainly at Glenfiddich, I would say that 90% of all of our bottlings have an age statement, and that's likely to continue for some given time. I can't see us going down the non-age statement route to the point, or to the same point that others have. We're family owned, and we're very happy about what we do. We're very proud of the quality that we produce, and for me the age statement backs that I'll continue. From a personal point of view, I would like to see everybody put an age statement on the bottle, regardless of whether it's 5, 8, 9, 10 or whatever, because the consumer knows exactly what to expect there in terms of how much they're paying out. But that's a personal view, it's not the Glenfiddich view. The Glenfiddich view is that we can do both. And I think if you created this relationship of trust with the consumer based upon what they've had from Glenfiddich in the past, then you can use that same trust to share with them liquid that doesn't necessarily have an age statement on it. And some of it is pretty good. We're going to have a whiskey tonight which is a vintage, hasn't got an age statement on it. But I know it's 24 years and 9 months, but there's no age statement on it, it's a vintage. And it's a tremendous whiskey. We can tell you what age it is, but it doesn't say it on the label.
Well, the show is called Share a Dram, so thank you, Ian Millar, for taking the time out to speak to me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
I have to tell you, this was so good. The second single malt I'd ever tasted. My first was a Lagavulin 16, and imagine as a novice drinker, I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I don't even want to try whiskeys again. And the Glenfiddich 15 was my second one, and it changed my mind.
15 is... We have 2 whiskies in the top 10 of best-selling single malts. If you look at the top 10 list of best-selling single malts in the world, we have 2 whiskies in there. Glenfiddich 12 is in its own right, and number 1. But Glenfiddich 15 is also on volume and value inside the top 10 of best-selling single malts.
Right.
Because it's just a great whiskey.
It's absolutely amazing.
It's a great whiskey.
Well, that's all from now. I was here with Ian Millar, Global Brand Ambassador for Glenfiddich. Thanks for tuning into the Malt Activist. See you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.